Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the regular City Council meeting to order. Monday, January 22nd, 6 o'clock. Do roll call. Bailey?
Here.
Maureen?
Here. Pat?
Here. Dar?
Here.
John?
Here.
Lindsay?
Here.
Okay, could everybody please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Okay, first item on the agenda is public comments. City will receive public comments on any issue related to the agenda when a discussion by the council may take place. Okay, hearing nothing. Next item is the consent agenda. Health and Safety Committee minutes from January 8th. City Council minutes from January 8th. Parks and Public Works Committee from January 16th. General Fund balance from December. Cash balances from December. Paid invoices report from December.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion, a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is report of standing committees and commissions. Nothing for Finance. Planning Commission, next meeting is Monday, February 5th at 6 o'clock. Parks and Public Works, have a committee report.
Yep. So during the meeting, we discussed basically a review of the Public Works plan for 2024. So the team did a good job of putting that together, so we could kind of see what the scope of the project's going to be. It's a long list, so hopefully we can get those all completed by the end of the year. The next one that we covered was the financial and maintenance agreement with the DOT. That is going to be covered this evening, so I'm not going to touch on that right now. The parks items, we looked at a tree survey and GIS information. It was pretty neat. We can basically see a survey that was done of all of our trees, and it's on an interactive map where we can see where they're located. So in case anything comes up in terms of the health or condition of the trees, we can kind of see what's going on there. McGee Park update. We did get the grant for the Knowles Nelson.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you to staff for submitting that with Cedar River's help. Other business, Freedom Park requested a shed. There's going to be additional discussion on that. And we did have the Riverfront Phase 2 public meeting on Thursday, January 18th. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments?
If I may, on that Thursday meeting, Dar was here. One thing, several people, some of the discussion got off topic, and more about things that weren't about the development, but there were several people who did comment that they really liked the green space and the park part and the connection to the trails and all of that went on with it. It was really nice to hear.
Good.
In particular, the pavilion and that rest area that's planned for that area.
Yeah.
They really did like it.
All right, thank you. The next meeting for Parks and Public Works is Monday, February 19th at 5 o'clock. Health and Safety, next meeting is Monday, March 11th at 5 o'clock. Personnel, next meeting Wednesday, February 7th at 5 o'clock. Next item on the agenda, communication, new business, public comments. Council will receive public comments on any issue not related to agenda items. Limited discussion by the council may take place. However, no action will be taken on any item. This includes receiving a written request, documentation, possible action at a future meeting. Okay, hearing none. Item number 2 is Resolution 0324, approving a budget amendment to use contingent and reserve funds to cover the under-budgeted funds for 2003. Matt?
Turn over to Beth.
Take that one.
Beth?
Basically, after reviewing the 2023 budget and after the discussions that we've had throughout the year, which we could have done this throughout the year, but I like to do it just at the end of the year so we can do it one time and not multiple times. So in this memo, we have our bond payoffs where we're moving funds from reserves, from the general fund reserves into the general fund to pay those. And then there's a couple of items that we need to use our contingency funds for, which were unplanned. One of them is providing the one-time funding of the $2,168 for the emergency government expenses, which that is our 2% fire dues. And the reason why we went over budget is because they paid us more money than we expected, because that's one of those that comes in as a revenue, but then goes out as an expense, but then we have to journal it out again. And so it makes it look like it's over budget, but it's actually a good thing because we got more money than we anticipated. And then the other was to provide the one-time funding of the $6,985.03 to come out of our conservation and development line to cover the zoning code review, which was pre-approved at a council meeting already, but we're just bringing it forward now to move it in the budget. Questions?
Motion to approve resolution 03-24.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to approve resolution 03-24. Are there any discussion on the motion? Not do a roll call. Lindsay?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Gar?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Bailey?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is resolution 0424, approving the transfer of unused parks upkeep funds of $11,874 from the general fund to the Parks Improvement Fund. Who wants to take that?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. So one of the things last year we started a Parks Improvement Fund. This was approved at the February 27th council meeting. A number of items that we discussed funding this fund, but one of the things that we started doing in 2022 was parks upkeep line item similar to what we do at streets and public works, providing funds to actually upkeep parks as they come throughout the year. We also use this for applying for grant funds and maintenance and improvements. For this last year, we budgeted $44,000 at the end of the year. We still have $11,874. Or I should say, if you look at the memo, we have $12,584, but in order to make the parks item whole, what we're recommending tonight is a transfer of $11,874 that we transferred into that Parks Improvement Fund. And as we previously discussed, these funds would be used for future parks items, maintenance, upkeep, new things like, for instance, just as an example, when we've talked about the St. Croix Bluffs parking lot and the addition of bathrooms there, eventually you could take some of these funds and as they build over time, use it towards things like that. So that's what's before you tonight, so I'll turn it over to council for comments and questions.
Motion to approve resolution 0424.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to approve resolution 0424. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not. Bailey?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Dar?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Okay, Lindsay?
Aye.
Okay, motion approved. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is resolution 0524, a preliminary resolution declaring intent to levy special assessments under police powers pursuant to section 66.0703 of Wisconsin statutes. That's the U.S. Oh, I'm sorry.
One ahead of us. So this is for the Elm and Washington Street project, similar to what we did last year for Locust Street. Historically, we have specially assessed for curb and gutter and related costs for that work, as well as sewer laterals. So what's before you tonight is this preliminary resolution declaring our intent to levy them. So we'll put out the public notice, and then we will send out this notice to all of the parties on this street that's affected by this, giving them the preliminary special assessment for that work. Then we will hold a public hearing, I believe, per the schedule will be at our next meeting in February to hold that public meeting. And so this resolution gives council their approval to start that process. So with that, I'll turn it over for council for comments or questions.
Motion to approve 0524.
Second that one.
I have a motion second to approve 0524. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Next item is US Highway 10 and State Highway 35 financial and maintenance agreements between the City of Prescott and the Department of Transportation update. Yeah?
Thank you, Mayor. So on December 11th, we received from the Department of Transportation our agreements for financial and maintenance of State Highway 35 and US Highway 10. I won't go over the whole plan, but they are within your memo for tonight, within tonight's packet of what they're proposing to do it. During those, a lot of it is mill and overlay of the concrete or of the asphalt drive lanes, and then replacement of certain sections of concrete curb and gutter. So overall, what they're proposing is a total cost share for the project to be $238,000. $189,200 would come from State Highway 35. This is 100% of the parking downtown, which we are responsible for, and then 20% of new sidewalk and real estate acquisition as well along that section of road for the proposed sidewalk. And then for US Highway 10, our funds would be $48,800, and that is 20% of real estate acquisition and 20% for sidewalk, and that's for proposed sidewalk on State Highway 29, leading from the intersection of the stoplights down to North Acres and 29 intersection. So what's before you then in terms of the maintenance agreement, they're proposing that if we sign this, that we would include maintenance of all ways outside the travel ways. This includes but is not limited to parking lanes, curb and gutter, drainage facilities, sidewalks, multi-use paths, modular block retaining walls, pedestrian refuge islands, and landscaping features. So if we sign this, that would be something that we would take over all maintenance for along the 2.5-mile stretch of road. I won't go over the full items there, but they are listed again in your memo. So right now what's being proposed is there's no financial compensation for any of this maintenance. There's no additional manpower. We're basically taking on the addition of 2.5 miles of road, which would increase our road maintenance by about 8% in 1 year without any additional revenue. So obviously if you take on like a new subdivision and you're taking on additional mileage of roads, you're getting all that potential new tax base from some sort of development. In this case, that does not exist. So this is one thing that Mike and I have really struggled with, and I think just overall how we would take on this amount of additional responsibility. I mean, we'd be street sweeping all these sections of road, required to cut the grass and all the right of way. And then, of course, the curb and gutter isn't 100% replacement within these sections of road. So although they are replacing the worst sections as part of these, if we had something come up in 2 years, we would be financially responsible for that maintenance. The one thing that to keep in mind is these agreements do not take effect until these projects happen. So it's not, if we sign these maintenance agreements and financial agreements, it's still not looking likely to happen until 2029 at the earliest. But we brought this to Parks and Public Works Committee, and they all agreed that it should something that should come to council. And I know that Council Member Knox has reached out to a representative, as has Councilmember Otwell before, and we haven't really got much of a response in terms of if there's any sort of paths that we could take that would, you know, benefit the city and our maintenance of these roads. So that's currently where we're standing with these maintenance and financial agreements. I'll turn it over to council for comments and questions.
So we're basically not wanting to move on it. We didn't want to bring it to council to vote on because I want to make another effort to reach out to the DOT, the people that are on. John, what was the committee name that you had looked up of the ones that are doing the DOT?
Transportation and something committee.
Yeah. So to reach out to maybe some of those members, because right now, I mean, even the roads aren't really being maintained to kind of what they're talking about right now, even today with us not being responsible for it. And so the grass isn't really being mowed all the time. There's just a lot of issues there. And so if we say, yeah, we're not really up for this because we don't have the resource or funds really coming in to manage it.
With the equipment.
Yep,
Right.
then you're looking at, okay, well, that means no sidewalk to Freedom, that means crosswalks, what was the other one? Crosswalks, sidewalk,
Curb and gutter.
well, like the extras that we want them to do. Like basically, if we don't want to sign this, you can't do that stuff. And it has to be like the standard. So then you're not doing any of that, correct?
Correct, yeah. So the sidewalk up State Highway 35 and then the sidewalk along State Highway 29 would both be removed since they
Yeah.
need maintenance agreements before they're willing to put in sidewalks and additional items.
And then to try and do that later on, I think everybody knows, it's hard to get any type of project scope where you want to go add that after that. So, yeah.
Which again, feels like not something just this side of extortion. The agreement says, the maintenance agreement says may come to this agreement or, join it. It's not, it doesn't appear to be a law, but yet Mike even mentioned the fact that somebody said, Mike asked someone when they
They'll
were
hold
here,
funds
if
from us.
we don't do that, what's going to happen? And they said, well, we'll get it one way or another.
Basically, they would withhold state highway
Yeah.
aid. Just like when it comes to property tax. If you don't up your property tax, you're not getting, so basically that tells you how much power your city council really has. They're going to leverage you into doing whatever they want from the state level.
Both, I think, Pat, you and I both reached out to both Senator Johnson and to Ron Petrick about this issue. And I didn't hear anything back. Did you hear anything back?
I got a reply from Petrick, who put me in touch with one of his assistants. And then I did get a phone call last week on Friday from a office person from Senator Smith, who I'd also sent it to. And she said that they were reviewing it and would be getting back to us at some point here shortly. And I asked her, are we looking at a month? She goes, no, give us a week or so. And so we'll see. Don't know where or whatever we expect, but at least, I don't know.
Just as a reminder, voting is in April.
You're right.
I'm a little sassy about this one because it's like
Yeah.
we're trying to basically work with them. We've tried to come up with better options for the design. We've tried to partner with Cedar Corps. We've tried a different number of ways to do this, and
Well,
just for awareness, if it's happening to us, it's happening to other cities. So basically, you're kind of being held hostage a little bit. So either sign this, be responsible for all of it. We're going to advertise basically that we're cutting budgets and the DOT stuff, but really, you're pushing it back to the local taxpayers. So, which is, to me, you're not cutting at that rate. Kind of passing the buck. So, again, voting is in April.
Didn't I hear that they were not going to do the Highway 10 reconstruction or the Highway 35 South
They would keep
reconstruction?
pushing it off, basically. They said they would push it down, but eventually they're going to have to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
the road's in disarray, the curb's in disarray, the retaining wall is pitching out behind the wastewater treatment plant, which the repair, Mike, is not really, I think, aligned with the approach to it. So, yeah, I think we need to make additional efforts to try and reach out to these folks, maybe the transportation committee, because it's just not sustainable. I mean, for small towns like us, we can't
With
take on
heavy
a
traffic.
highway.
Right.
Yeah,
Traffic.
It's a
semi-traffic.
state
Semi-traffic.
Yeah,
So it's not even like, just regular it's like we're sending semis down there frequently. So, anyways.
Well, is there something we should do as a council together to push this forward rather than just our individual efforts?
I mean, you could try and get other cities that have projects coming up that are going to try and do upgrades like we are, just like basic stuff like that, and see if people are willing to send a message together.
And is there an opportunity to meet with both senators? We did that once.
With the two of them,
Right.
the two representatives.
We're trying, I just don't, I mean, I don't know what committees, I don't remember what committees they sit on,
I
or
think
yada,
that-
yada, yada, but he's not on transportation.
I think Ron Petrick is on
Is
the
he on transportation?
I think so.
I thought when we looked, I'll have to look again.
I don't know that for
Well,
sure.
According to the legislative website, the members of the Senate Committee on Transportation and Local Government are Tom Zick, Cowles, Hutton, Carpenter, and Pfaff.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think he sits on it. I don't know which one he sits on.
Have we heard from any other cities or anything about them signing their maintenance agreements?
We have not heard specifically reached out to any. I will
thought
say,
that-
I think we are in a pretty unique case in the fact that we are kind of right on a wedge in the fact that we have so many miles of state highway because we have a bridge that goes into our community that's very vital to the transfer of people back and forth between state lines. So unlike other communities that maybe have one road that goes straight through it, we have a bridge that brings a high amount of traffic and then also splits and goes north-south in our community.
did you say at one point that River Falls already signed their agreement?
I'm not aware of River Falls signing it.
Oh,
I think Ellsworth did.
oh, Ellsworth.
So it looks like they have meetings every couple months. So their last one was on January 9th. So
So what do you want to do, rent a bus and go to Madison, or?
Yeah. When's their next meeting?
So
I would guess
are they
it's
giving us a
sometime in March.
timeline? That when they want it to be signed by?
don't tempt me, Dar.
They haven't. They haven't given us a time. I will say this process started about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And when we first started, the project was going to happen in 2027, up to 2028, and now they're saying it's 2029. Now that's not because of the agreements, that's because basically what they're saying is the planning and the financing have kept getting pushed back in terms of their budgeting for the project.
Are they going to have to rebuild the retaining wall there?
So they're going to
They're only
rebuild
gonna
the
take 6
top
layers
6
down.
layers.
Pardon?
And they're going to rebuild the top 6 layers and then reinforce the rest of the retaining wall.
And then the one going up the hill that's like falling apart, the concrete?
That one they will rebuild.
I think it's the big one where they're only going 6 layers down is where Mike had some concerns. So anyways.
Well, do
that's
we
the
need
update.
to do something with this tonight?
No,
No.
Okay.
Just
we're
an
just
update
informing.
while we chew on it a little bit longer. So if anybody has additional ideas, if you want to come to the Parks and Public Property meeting,
When is that?
the 19th.
Of February.
Yeah, and just give Matt a heads up so we don't have a quorum.
Okay, does anybody
That's a
have any
holiday.
other?
Are we going
The
to?
19th is?
Yeah.
What holiday is that?
President's Day.
Oh,
We don't have it off?
We do not.
Okay, so what time is your Parks and,
it is at 5 o'clock.
okay, thanks.
Okay, other business? Other business? Okay, we don't have a closed session. We do have a council workshop. We're going to do this off camera because we're going to give the council opportunity if they need to walk around, or so we don't have to follow Robert's Rules of Order. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
So do we need to adjourn then, or
No, we'll still wait till adjourn.
we'll just
till
go off camera? So Larry, if you could take us offline, that'd be great.